The Culture Pop Podcast is brought to you by the law offices of Jacob Emrani.
Accident or injury, call Jacob Emrani. Call Jacob.
Hey, it's Mase. If you or a friend or loved one is injured in an accident, the first person you should call is my friend Jacob. When I did this, Jacob was great. He helped me by talking through the next steps, which really put my mind at ease. When you're injured in an accident, you got to have an expert. That's why you call Jacob, just like I did. Call Jacob, 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB, or visit calljacob.com.
Call Jacob.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Culture Pop Podcast. I'm Steve Mason, along with Sue Kolinsky. This is the show where we talk about everything happening in the world of pop culture. Sue Ballou, we're bearing down on yet another triathlon. How many triathlons are you going to do?
I don't know. As many as my body will allow me. So I'm going to be it's going to be number 3 a month from today.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You get a swim again in the ocean?
It's going to be in the bay in Newport.
Oh, okay. In
Newport Dunes.
All right, cool. I'm excited for you. You're making a habit of this. So the Emmys are coming up this Sunday, September the 15th. And so this is our annual Emmy preview. So a couple of things. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment or a review or a show idea or an Emmy pick or whatever you got. Hot takes for the Emmys, you can leave it in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, subscribe to the show. And big points if you leave us a 5-star rating and a good review. And if you've got a friend that would appreciate the Culture Pop Podcast, tell them about it. We're always looking for more viewers and more listeners. Sue, it's award season. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. I'm very excited.
Buckle up to preview the Emmys. We are joined by comedian and Rotten Tomatoes correspondent Mark Ellis. Hey, Mark, thanks a lot for coming back to the show. How are you, man?
I am doing great. This is my time of year, Steve, because I let my competitive juices subside in the summertime. That's when I take care of the rest of life. God forbid, maybe even go on a date. And then when it comes to September, that's when I lock into football season and Emmy season because we get to compete. Our favorite TV shows going against each other in the shadow of all of our favorite football teams playing against each other. So this is the most competitive that I get. And as a 44-year-old man, I always think it's going to go away at some point, and it only just gets my juices going even more. So September pumpkin spice season is Mark Ellis season.
Wow. Sounds like blow season. You're going a mile a minute here.
Well, that would be the pumpkin spice latte talking.
That's what it is.
You only get a few of them a year, so you gotta really make sure you take advantage.
So 2023 Emmys were held just 9 months ago. This is our second Emmy ceremony of the year. I love the hosting combination of Eugene Levy and Dan Levy. How do you feel as a comedian? How do you feel about that, Mark?
Well, see, the thing about comics is we love watching award shows for the opening monologue. We love seeing what the comedian's going to do, what plays he's going to make that's right, that's wrong. And I think that the pairing of Eugene and Dan together is just going to knock it out of the ballpark. I've actually, once I saw that was announced, I started rewatching Schitt's Creek yet again because it's one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. The comedy is so tight in it. So I think you're going to see a lot of that infused onto their stage banter. And just as a comic, when we're up there by ourselves, this is so much easier for an award show when you have like your Amy Poehler and Tina Fey can play off each other. You see it in shows with Only Murders in the Building with, Martin Short and Steve Martin and Selena Gomez. I like it when they can play off one another. I think you're going to see a lot of great stuff on stage with the Levys.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool when they give kind of a newcomer a chance, but I like that it's a tried and true, even though I haven't seen them host this before, you just know you're going to get something really, really solid.
I think they did a little shtick. I think they did a little shtick at the SAG Awards a couple of years ago. And I think I got a vibe for that. I think that's definitely going to work. They did one of those I am an actor things that they do at the SAG Awards, and they did it together and then ended up on stage. I thought they were terrific. So I'm really excited about that. Dan Levy, of course, co-created and starred in Schitt's Creek along with his dad, who is, like an ultimate comedy legend. So Shogun has more nominations than anything this year, 25. The Bear has 23. Only Murders in the Building, has 21. True Detective, which I love, 19. And The Crown, 18. I got to tell you up front, because we're going to talk about it, never saw Shogun, have not watched Shogun. It seems so daunting to me. The subtitles, and I started it, and then I stopped it, and then I went back to it, and I haven't gone back. Did you watch Shogun?
Yeah, and I'm going to put you at ease, Steve, because you said like me 5, 6, 7 years ago. I started watching all my TV shows when I'm at home, besides live sports. I started watching all my TV shows with the subtitles on. So
really,
that's how I've sort of trained myself. And so then something like Shogun comes along, and you're right. I mean, it's subtitled. It's a historical epic drama. It feels a little like you're doing homework in your high school history class. Once you make it through the first episode, there are so many storylines that will grab you. I loved Shogun because it was different than anything else that I've seen on TV recently. You can feel how much effort they put into it. You can feel the budget of the show. And the acting is virtually unparalleled across the board, from your stars to anyone who has a minor role in the show. Everybody comes to play hard, and it blew me away. I was so happy to see that get a pickup for another season from FX, because you got to remember, Shogun started as a limited series, so it would have been going against your Baby Reindeers of the world, your Ripleys of the world at the Emmys, but now it's up for all these drama awards, so it's got a different class that it's competing in.
How do you feel sometimes, Steve, you know, when a show is so popular and you haven't watched it? Because I haven't watched it either. And like, if Shogun was like human, they would be saying to us, we got nominated for 25 Emmys. What do we have to do for you to watch this show?
It is true. It is true. You know what? I'm going to dig in and do it. I'm going to dig in and I'm going to commit to it and really do it. It seems like a huge commitment, Mark.
Do it. Just get through the first episode. And I know that you all are great listeners of my advice, but also you're great TV consumers. So everybody else listening and watching this right now, give it a shot, but I'm serious. Put your phone away, lock it in a safe if you have to, leave it in your car. Do not get distracted and then just say, oh, let me see what's going on Instagram real quick. You really got to focus on the show, but once you do, you're going to be rewarded, because it is just captivating as anything I've seen the last handful of years.
Well, why don't we start right there with Best Drama Series, which interesting is in February, the nominees were Succession, gone, Better Call Saul, gone, House of the Dragon, off cycle, The Last of Us, gone, White Lotus, off cycle, Yellow Jackets, and Andor. There are no repeat nominees. This is an entire new combination of Best Drama nominees. Shogun is overwhelmingly the favorite. But Sue, I know you love Slow Horses.
I think it's one of the best shows on TV. But it cannot. Shogun's going to win.
So I'm catching up with Slow Horses. I was the slowest horse, the slow horse, because I just started watching it and I'm about halfway through season 1, and I'm loving everything that's happening in it so far. Slow Horses, I think, does have, pardon the pun, a dark horse shot at winning this, as does another show that I don't think it's going to take the trophy, but I got to give it some love. The Gilded Age is sort of my guilty pleasure. I was surprised how much I love The Gilded Age, and now I'm just salivating, waiting for them to finish shooting season 3 and get it into my naked, steaming eyeballs. But you're right. You look at Shogun, 99% on the tomato meter. I think that one is.
Who is that one guy? Who's the one guy?
It's like the one dentist that doesn't recommend.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there you go, 4 out of 5. Where's the other guy?
You know, I want to shout out a show that has been such a pleasure to watch over the years. The Crown. Absolutely love The Crown. Everything I know about British royal history comes from that show. I think people have invested over years. Do you think there's any chance The Crown wins Best Drama, or is it just old news?
Well, you know, sometimes you see these shows and they can go one of two ways when they've been airing for a while. Like you said, there's a lot of new blood that's nominated, particularly in this category. The Crown has been around for a while, and it has its loyal viewers, counting yourself among them. So sometimes those shows at the end of the run get rewarded for the body of work, and other times, as you said, it starts to feel a little bit like old news, where I thought this was a wonderful season for The Crown. It might have been my favorite so far, but I think that Shogun did something so different. And I think that the daunting look of Shogun, once you get invested into the show, you're sort of surprised at how hooked you got on it. And I think that that's why Shogun, it might have been a more difficult mountain to climb, but once you got there, it was a higher peak than what you got with The Crown.
Yeah, I want to shout out a show that I think is terrible and I love it. Morning Show. I don't think Morning Show is good at all. Like, I think the performances, especially Reese Witherspoon, annoys me. I work in the media. It's so unrealistic, everything they do there. Billy Crudup is so kind of evil, over the top kind of guy. But I don't think the show is very good, but I love it, and it's in this category.
Yeah, for me, it was the January 6th storyline that might as well have been Arthur Fonzarelli getting his jet ski ready to go careening over a shark, because that was the one where it's like, wait, we're doing what? But like you, it's like candy that I know it's not good for me. I got to keep eating it. I was even watching Friends last night, and it was one of the episodes where Rachel's sister comes to town, played by Reese Witherspoon. So I'm watching it in like the early 2000s, and I'm seeing the Morning Show prequel. So I love the Morning Show. I don't think it's a good show. I'm not even sure why it's nominated. They might have just needed another show, but needless to say, it will not be competing with Shogun to win this crown.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the first season of the show, and then after that, maybe because it was new and it, like you said, it was so far from jumping the shark. I actually couldn't watch the last season of it. I just.
By the way, I think it's coming back for season 4.
Yeah,
I think there's more ridiculousness on the way. So let's look at Best Actor. Now, I'm assuming that Hiroyuki Sanada is from Shogun is the guy that's going to win here. Is that right?
That would be my pick for your winner, but there's some noise towards Donald Glover, who was tremendous in Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
He was
and
great.
That was a
I
show.
love Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Yeah,
great show.
It was a lot of fun. Also, there's a big nerd side of my brain, and so the video game adaptation Fallout has Walton Goggins, who's nominated, and I don't think it's enough of a groundswell, but keep your eye going forward on a talent like Walton Goggins popping into stuff like this. I think for me, it is going to come down to Donald Glover with an outside chance, but I'm giving this one to Hiroyuki Sanada as well. When you watch Shogun, everybody's great. He stands out. He's that good.
A friend of mine had a great take on Gary Oldman, because we both love slow horses so much. And she said, I think the reason why, he won't win for this part is because people probably think that's who he is in real life.
Well, it's who he is in real life, but it's also, I think that Gary Oldman is a guy who's been such an acclaimed actor over so many years and decades that it's almost like it's not the same situation where you're voting for Karl Malone over Michael Jordan for the MVP.
Right.
But it is one of those things where it's like Gary's got everything. He's got all the love. He's got all the praise. He's in those best actor of all time conversations. And so let's give it to somebody else. Why not Hiroyuki Sanada?
I don't think it's impossible that Gary Oldman wins. I don't think it's impossible.
I don't think it's
unlikely,
impossible.
but not impossible.
I don't think it's impossible, but I think Shogun is going to be one of those is going to be that show, this Emmys, that's going to take home so many awards.
I think it's going to do well. It's not winning all 25. So if you're filling out your ballot, you're like competing with your friends for this stuff. This could be one of those categories where you can take a chance, and if it ends up losing, not going your way, it's not going to burn you on your ballot.
Right. Best Actress, I'm assuming again, Anna Sawai, I think is the pronunciation, from Shogun, is the favorite to win here. I would say Imelda Staunton from The Crown is also a contender. Who do you think, Mark?
It's not going to be Reese, and it's not going to be Jen from The Morning Show. I'll tell you that.
No, it's not going to be either one. You're correct.
That's what I know. I do have a soft spot in my heart for Carrie Coon, because I just love the Gilded Age so much, and she has a lot of different emotions that she's kind of pulling from in this most recent season. But yeah, I think it's Anna Sawai for Shogun, and I think that once you start to see some of these categories be revealed as to who's winning, to y'all's point, if you see Shogun win some stuff early, it could just be that kind of night where it's taking home 18, 20 statues.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over to comedy. The best comedy is the heavy favorite is The Bear. The Bear has been nominated in so many categories. It's already won this award and won this award in February for Best Comedy. My criticism, and I'm not, Sue and I both have this feeling, it's not very funny. It's not really a funny, shits and giggles kind of show. There's stuff in it, right? But it's not a comedy. It's still going to win, right?
And this was the least comedic season, I would say, of the three. I really enjoyed it, but this one I got less yucks than I did in season 2, where I got less yucks than season 1. So it's diminishing returns. And I do wonder if the fact that this is Best Comedy, and that does start to factor in that it's nominated in a category where maybe it doesn't feel like it belongs as much as some of the other ones. Now, that didn't hurt Matt Damon in The Martian when it ended up taking the Best Comedy or Musical, the Golden Globe.
That's correct.
So we've seen stuff like this before, but I'm going to differ with you. I think that Abbott Elementary is going to take this one.
Interesting.
I think we kind of assume Abbott Elementary is always there and it's a network show, but that thing's got a lot of power behind it and a lot of good laughs to go with it. So I think Abbott Elementary might sneak up on it.
Sue, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
I'm going to say Hacks.
Me too.
It was the best season so far.
100%.
The writing was insane, and I'm sure it's going to win for writing, but it was so great. And I feel that it's due to win. Yeah,
and look, as a comic, that show was recommended to me, so I came to it late because I don't really want to watch much about stand-up. I appreciated what Mrs. Maisel was able to do with its run, but I just didn't feel like watching it that much. With Hacks, I can't believe how good it is and how engaged I am in watching something that is circumstantially referencing stand-up comedy in every episode. So hats off to Hacks. I'm still going Abbott Elementary.
By the way, Murders in the Building is also sort of in that mix, I think. I don't think that one's impossible either. It's such a funny show. This year, by the way, that they've added a bunch of new guest stars. Everybody wants to be on that show. But those guys just make me laugh. And it's a true comedy. I also think there's a possibility that one upsets the Bear. By the way, we're all talking upsets. It's likely to be the Bear. But I still think I would vote for Hacks. Sue, you would vote for Hacks?
Absolutely.
Mark, who would you vote for?
Part of me wants to give it to Curb Your Enthusiasm just because it went out on such a great note. But I'm going to give my vote with my heart and my head to Abbott Elementary. The fact that you can do something that brilliant still on network TV, I think says a lot to the creators behind it.
All right. Best Comedy Actress. This one looks to be a 2-person race. Io Adebari from The Bear, who won for Best Supporting earlier this year. Now she's in the lead category. And Jean Smart for Hacks. There are some others, Kristen Wiig from Palm Royale is there. Quinta Brunson, who I think she won in February as well. She's in that mix. Who do you like in this category, comedy actress?
For me, this actually comes down to either Quinta Brunson, like you said, or Jean Smart. That's where I think it's going. I think Io's great in The Bear. I don't think it's... I really enjoyed Maya Rudolph in Loot, and Kristen Wiig, another SNL alum, nominated in this category. I think it's going to come down to Quinta and Jean. So my head says Quinta, but my heart says Jean. I think it'd be a really nice moment to see Jean Smart win that Emmy.
I'm Jean Smart all the way. The depth of this character is just, there's nothing that this woman can't do. I mean, just the highs and lows of this season, she's just phenomenal. And, I did stand up for a long time, Mark. We've never met one another, but to anybody who can do stand up, who doesn't do stand up, and it's real, and you're an amazing actor on top of that, that is really, really hard.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm not comparing the quality of Hacks to something like the Tom Hanks movie Punchline, but it's the similar kind of thing where you see Hanks in that movie, just what he's doing, and you're like, this guy is not a stand-up comic. You're telling me this guy's not a professional comic? Because he certainly feels like one.
Yeah, there is an episode this year that I absolutely loved from Hacks. It is where she gets invited to hang out with 3 of her comedy heroes, 3 guys, and they start making inappropriate jokes and comments, and she realizes this is a club she doesn't want to be in. I thought it was just brilliant writing. She was very funny. I don't know what episode she submitted, but this would have been a great one. I think Gene Smart's going to win here. I love Gene Smart in Hacks.
Y'all might have swayed me because I was really 50-50 looking at this one in particular. So I think that I'll because again, I want her to win. I think Quinta's great, but I'll go with y'all. I'm going to go with Mase Sue here, and I'm joining the Hacks bandwagon for this category only.
Awesome.
All right.
Awesome. All right. Best limited series. It is such a fantastic category. Baby Reindeer, which is just disturbing genius.
Yes.
True Detective, which I don't know how they managed to make it make sense at the end, but they did. Ripley is so good. Fargo, John Hamm was so great in that. Fargo's in this category. I mean, I think Baby Reindeer has to be considered the favorite, right?
You know, most other years, I would say Ripley just feels like the winner, just the mood, the tone of the show. That's the one that you would assume would get the traditional Emmy vote. But Baby Reindeer was able to, in the same way that The Bear can pull from both drama and comedy, Baby Reindeer managed to be funny, dramatic, tragic, heartwarming at times. And there's other times watching Baby Reindeer when you literally want to throw your soda, in my case, beer, at the TV, watching the way that these characters, particularly Richard Gadd's character, is trying to maneuver this very awkward situation, yet you never turn it off because you understand eventually why the character is making all these decisions that he is. So I feel like Ripley and Baby Reindeer are going to be competitive in every limited series category, whether it's for acting or whether it's for the actual show. I think Baby Reindeer, just how original and different it was, is going to push it over the top for the whole show. I think the show gets the Emmy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mark, because it's so unique. You know, I loved Ripley. It was just, I mean, aesthetically, it was beautifully shot.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I mean, Adam Scott, I mean, he was just transformative. I mean, like he was in Fleabag. I mean, he was, you know, he is just a brilliant actor. But because of how unique this Baby Reindeer is, and of course, the name, Baby Reindeer.
Yeah, right.
Come on. I mean, I think it's going to win.
Yeah, I think it's also Baby Reindeer. A big shout out to Fellow Travelers, which is a show we watched this year. And I think most years would have been in the best limited series category, but it is so crowded. I think this is Baby Reindeer. You know what? I always use this test where you say it's just like you compare it to something else. Baby Reindeer, I can't say it's just like anything because I've never seen, it's so specific and it's so weird and it's so interesting. And to me, that's what makes it genius. I've just never seen anything like it before.
Yeah, even with something as good and as unique as Ripley was, you know, you can describe Ripley, it's a moody sort of thriller, not unlike the movie that is on Mace's left shoulder, Chinatown, you know? I mean,
yes.
But if you're trying to describe Baby Reindeer, I don't even know where to start with. Is it funny? Is it dramatic? It's all of these things together wrapped up into one. And I think if anything can push it over the top above Ripley, it is so memorable. I still have a running joke with any of my friends who have seen Baby Reindeer, where occasionally if I'm texting them, I will say set from iPhone or set from iPwan just to get that Baby Reindeer. It's such a cultural zeitgeist kind of hit that I think this is its year. I think it has done enough to earn it.
Okay, yeah. Best actress, limited series. For me, this is a one-person category. Who do you think wins, Mark?
Okay. I know that there's I'll give a shout out to Sofia Vergara because Griselda is a show that I think a lot of people saw.
She was terrific.
Wonderful.
I loved that show. I thought it was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought Juno Temple was fantastic in Fargo. I really like Brie Larson in Lessons in Chemistry. Jodie Foster. Well, I know that the season was controversial for True Detective. Jodie Foster.
Why was it controversial?
I think that there were a lot of people that were turned off by the storyline and how convoluted the storytelling was. And, you know, I don't think that it wrapped up as clean as you do with like what, I might just have to rewatch it.
You didn't think it wrapped
again.
up clean?
There was a lot of, There's still a lot of questions I have.
Wow. Okay.
But you know what? I'm fine with that for True Detective because it is that sort of show. And with Jodie Foster's performance, where you talk about the tragedy that she's been through, she was so good in that show. I will forgive her and the crew for temporarily ruining my love of the Beatles' Twist and Shout. It's back now, and I no longer think of True Detective when I hear that song, but for a while there, I was like, God, did this permanently ruin one of my favorite Beatles tunes?
Yeah. Now, are you on Jodie Foster also, Sue?
Yeah, I really love Juno Temple, but just from the standpoint of sheer brilliance in acting and the type of character, you could look at Juno Temple and say, little bit of a caricature, I don't think it was as deep as Jodie Foster's performance.
Right.
And, she was just absolutely brilliant in it. So
yeah, it's so nice to see her in something. She obviously had Naiad last year, and she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for that. But it seemed like we went through years where we didn't see Jodie Foster, and it's like those two projects, Naiad and this one, True Detective, reminded me of what makes Jodie Foster like one of the great actors of her generation, I think.
Yeah, I think unlike what we saw like with Gary Oldman and Slow Horses, where we feel like Gary Oldman is just omnipresent kind of actor that is always around, popping into some movie that's going to come out during a season. Jodie Foster, with the exception of Naiad, has not been around that much recently in the public eye. So to see her come back and do something like this and really sink her teeth into it, that's why I not only think she's going to edge out Brie Larson or Sofia Vergara, I'm also rooting for her to do so.
So you really liked Lessons in Chemistry, right?
I thought it was just a terrific series. It was so smart. And again, you talk about stylistically the period that it took place. I mean, it didn't miss a beat in anything, I thought.
Yeah, the dialogue is so tight and difficult in that. I'm just blown away. Brie Larson was terrific in that series. I just think it's Jodie Foster's year.
Also, one other thing I wanted to say about the casting in that.
Yeah.
Her daughter was a mini Brie Larson. I mean, the casting was so perfect. So, and that's something I guess in this year's Oscars, that's going to be a new category, right? Casting.
Yeah. Oh, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Best casting. Oh, that's cool. I didn't even know that. All right, last category here. Limited series actor. Now, you've got Andrew Scott there from Ripley. You've got Richard Gadd from Baby Reindeer. You've got John Hamm from Fargo. You've got Matt Bomer, who got nominated for Fellow Travelers. I have a feeling this comes down to either Andrew Scott or Richard Gadd. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that those are going to be the last two remaining. And much like this last year's Super Bowl, I think it's going to be really competitive. You got your Chiefs and 49ers here. You got your Scott and you got your Gadd. And I think it's going to go to overtime. And I think that in this case, I'm giving Andrew Scott the moniker of the Chiefs. And I'm giving Richard Gadd the 49ers. I think that Baby Reindeer does win the show. And I think that just Andrew Scott, maybe because we're a little more familiar with him. And I think that if it does come down to a tie, it's that we have just met Richard Gadd on this sort of stage. We've seen Andrew Scott, to Sue's point, be transcendental and have some Emmy nominations in his past for stuff like Fleabag. I think this performance in Ripley is enough to get him that statue.
Yeah, prior to Ripley, I think he was only known as Hot Priest. Everybody said he's the Hot Priest.
There's worse things to be known for,
Yes, absolutely. So you've worked a lot of football stuff in here. Who do you root for?
So if you look right above me is John Riggins taking it to the house in Super Bowl 17. So it's been a long, storied run the last 25 years with my Washington, whatever you want to call us, any of our three names over the last couple decades. But I'm a Commanders fan. It's in my blood too deep to get rid of them, even during the worst of the Dan Snyder turmoil. We're through it now. We have a new GM in Adam Peters. We have Dan Quinn as the head coach. I think they're perfectly placed. And Jaden Daniels has done nothing but get me more excited since the start of training camp, not just with his incredible athleticism, but with his leadership, with his dedication. He's the first guy to get to the building, last guy to leave. That's who you want your quarterback. The fact that he's a rookie means he's just that much more ahead of the curve. I'm actually flying into Tampa Bay. I'm going to do some shows in Tampa, and then my mom, my uncle, and I are going to go to opening day at the big pirate ship, I guess. So we're going to go see we're going to go see the Commanders on the road against the Bucks. It's the Commanders Buccaneers. It's the Commies versus the Bucks.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, they haven't. Now, Washington hasn't won since the 1900s, I don't think.
Not since the 1900s. I was lucky enough to be in the.
I just love saying that.
Yeah, right.
Won since I say it about the Niners. I say it about the Cowboys. I say it about the Raiders. Not since the 1900s have they won.
That's right. Joe Montana sounds like a prospector now. Oh, way back in the 1900s before modern civilization. But I was at the championship game way up in the nosebleeds at RFK Stadium when we beat Detroit to go to that Super Bowl where we beat the Bills. And, when you're a 10-year-old kid, you just think it's going to last forever. We're always going to be good. And the last 25, 30 years have been really tough. But I think that finally there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And it might come with a rainbow. And at the end of that rainbow, Sue, could be a pot of gold in the form of another Lombardi championship. Maybe not this year. Maybe not this year, but coming soon.
Yeah, the 1900s, panning for gold.
Yeah. But I'll tell you what, Jaden Daniels, I think, is a chance to be a really, really great quarterback. I don't know if I'm ready to say, I think Caleb Williams is a transcendent quarterback. I think he changes the game. I already think the Bears are going to be a playoff team. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be very, very good. And I think has a chance to be great. And so I think you have every reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, and I'm very high on Caleb Williams. And if you don't believe me, just look at my fantasy roster. I got Roma Dunze and I got Keenan Allen on just about every team that I'm starting to see here. And so I need somebody to get on the ball. Come on, Caleb. Don't let me down, baby.
There you go. All right, so talking a little football, talking a little Emmys. Generally speaking, it sounds like it's going to be a big night for Shogun. And I intend to watch the show.
That's your homework.
By the way, you have subtitles on everything you watch.
I watch subtitles on everything except anything having to do with sports because it doesn't quite keep up to where I need it. I don't do it with live sports anyway, but even watching something like Hard Knocks, the captions don't quite keep up as fast as they do with the show for whatever reason. So if I'm watching Gilded Age, if I'm watching, obviously, Shogun, if I'm watching Lessons in Chemistry, I'm putting the subtitles on. If it's a live sporting event, something like that, subtitles are off, and I'm probably standing up and pacing back and forth. That's how I get my steps in.
Right. It's funny about subtitles. I read an article that said that 40% of people now have the subtitles on. They're for everything.
Yeah.
And if I go to my mom and her boyfriend's house, we sat and watched Young Sheldon with subtitles. I'm like, you really need subtitles for Young Sheldon? You can get through that, can't you?
Well, here's the key. Here's the key. You got to make sure that you're not getting lost in just reading the words. You still have to look. You still got to do work involved because you still got to look up and look at the actors' expressions and reactions. So don't take that out. Don't turn it into reading a book. God forbid. Keep it a TV show. So make sure that you're giving the whole screen its due attention.
Yeah, well, I like putting them on for British or Irish shows because the accent sometimes is so heavy. I don't understand anything they're saying.
Oh, Dairy Girls is one of the funniest shows I have ever seen in my life. And thank goodness for subtitles because I would be completely lost watching that show without them. With them, one of the great shows I've ever seen.
Right.
Oh, I love the Bob Marley documentary, One Love. And I saw it in theaters and thought it was fantastic. I didn't catch a lot of the dialogue because of the accent. So now I've seen it, and now I've seen exactly what everybody was saying. Still a great movie. But with the subtitles, I understood it more. There you go. All right. Hey, Mark, this has been fantastic. Enjoy the Emmys. We would love to have you back anytime, man.
Hey, it's been a pleasure catching up with y'all. Sue, we got to get together and talk stand-up sometime. And look forward to the Emmys, looking forward to football season. And let's do this again in less than 4 years, okay?
We will do it. We will do it soon, Mark. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Mark.
See ya.
There you have it, our Emmy preview with Mark Ellis. Really funny. I like him. I got to see him at the Comedy Store.
You got to see him?
Yeah, I've got to go see him.
Oh, you've got to.
Right,
Oh,
so-
I thought you said
yeah.
you've seen him at the Comedy Store.
Now, have you
Oh,
seen
cool.
him?
Yeah. I've never, ever seen him. No. But I
He's
like
funny.
him a lot. And I like him enough to say that I'd like to hang out with him.
Oh, there you go. Very nice. I'd hang
Yeah.
out with him.
Yeah. I think the three
Plus-
of us should hang out with
Plus,
him.
on the Emmys, he definitely knows his shit, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I
he's-
really
he's
liked
good.
it. I liked his take on stuff.
Yeah, and he saw at least one person on the show saw Shogun.
Shogun, and I haven't seen Gilded Age. Have you seen that?
No, I've not seen Gilded Age.
I know.
You know, it seems, is that a Britishy one?
Sounds
Is
like
Gilded
it's a
Age Britishy? It sounds Britishy.
it sounds Britishy. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like, you know what it sounds like? It sounds like
but the
Bridgerton.
Crown. The Crown is British,
Right, but it is Britishy. You're right. There is
but
no
it's
show.
but it's historical.
Correct. It's historical. This is, I don't know. It feels like Bridgerton to me. By the way, I say that having never seen it. So it could be like Bridgerton?
Well, it's, I guess, because of the title, Gilded Age. It sounds maybe a little stuffy. I don't know.
It does sound stuffy. Stuffy and Britishy. But he loved it. And so somebody here has seen it. You haven't even tried it.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Not in your wheelhouse.
And it's just not in my radar. It's not like I was like, oh, Gilded Age. I don't want to see that. there's so many other things that I'm watching. I just
there
can't keep
are
up.
so many things right now. You know what? Have you seen, you got to watch this. Have you seen the series Untold on Netflix? It's a sports documentary series, and they have one right now about Connor Stallions, who was the guy for Michigan that was stealing sideline signs all last year.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, it is fascinating. You've got to watch it.
What's it on?
Netflix.
Oh, okay.
They've got a series of sports documentaries. The first one, I think, was Steve McNair, who tragically was murdered. And then the next one was Connor Stallions stealing signs. It's fantastic. But it's that time of year when there's so much good stuff.
I watched a documentary last night that someone turned me on to that you have to see.
Okay.
It's called Daughters.
Okay.
And it's a story about this event that happened many, many years ago where daughters of men who were incarcerated, they wanted to, their fathers couldn't go to their school dance with them. So one student suggested, why don't we bring the dance to the prison?
No, really?
And it's been going on for like, I don't know, 12 years or longer.
It's like prison prom?
Well, kind of, yeah.
Don't you think that's what do they call this show?
It's called Daughters.
I would call it prison prom.
But it's, you know what? It's got so much, it actually is a fun name, but it sounds like it would maybe be a little lighthearted. It is so heartwarming.
Okay.
And it is insanely great and shot amazing. I mean, just, you got to watch it. It's really,
Since
really
we're
good.
touching shows here, have you seen Industry?
No, but it looks really good.
It's a great one. It is a great one. Season 3 just started. It's terrific. No real stars. It's sort of set in on a trading floor in London, and character development's great. It's got a vibe, sort of like what's the Paul Giamatti show?
Billions?
Paul Giamatti, Billions.
Billions.
It's got a little bit of that vibe to it. Fascinating stuff. And HBO always, or Max, I guess now, always has a great show going on Sunday nights. This is the one right now. You should check it out.
Yeah. I saw a trailer
Industry.
for it the other day, and it looked pretty intense, actually.
Very, very good. All right, there you have it. There is our Emmy preview. Hey, enjoy the Emmys. They are on this Sunday, September the 15th. Have fun with those, and thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for listening, and we will see all of you guys next time on the Culture Pop Podcast.